Hello and welcome to the Six Star Leaders podcast. I'm your host, Aveline Clark, and you're about to listen to another incredible episode with an amazing human all about how they are making a difference in the world using their passion, their purpose, and the alignment of their genius. Because I believe that we make the greatest impact in our life when we combine our passion with our purpose and our genius. That's where the magic happens. This conversation is going to be good because they always are. There's so much to gain from these. They're beautiful, they're inspiring, and I invite you to open up to see the possibilities of what you can do in your life too. Enjoy. Hello and welcome. It is another episode of Six Star Leaders podcast. I'm your host, Aveline Clark, and my guest today is the lovely Sarah Pyke. She was once an Olympic torchbearer at the Sydney Olympic Games in the year 2000. She's worked for some of Australia's largest accounting firms before being fired for taking a holiday on her birthday in June of 2022. She's a female accountant striving to shake up the stale, pale, white, old male industry that we know as accounting. She's the owner of Bond Financial, a boutique accounting firm, and resonates with the quote made famous by the CEO of Southwest Airlines, where it goes, "We are in the customer service business. We just happen to provide airline transportation." And in her case, accounting services. Welcome, Sarah. Thank you for joining me.
Aveline, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to chat further on what brought me to where we are today, to starting Bond Financial, and yes, the kind of curly way that I ended up getting here. So it should be
wonderful. Well, I'm looking forward to it as well. And just reading your bio it's exciting for me. I love movers and shakers and people who like to make a difference in the world. So you're in the right place. Let's get started and find out, whereabouts are you? Because it says, I think you're in Sydney, but you're somewhere else at the moment. Is that right?
Correct. I am Sydney based, but I'm actually at the moment physically in Tasmania. So the island down the bottom of Australia. I'm originally from here. I was born and raised in Tasmania and moved to Sydney just nearly 14 years ago.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we've already ascertained that you're an accountant, but tell me about who do you work for and who do you serve, that is, and how specifically do you serve them?
Yeah, look, I work with what we call small to medium enterprise. So that could be an individual who is a sole trader. They've got their own business and they've just started out. It could be a mum and dad who have a family group. They're running a trades business and then have a family trust and a number of other things that goes on within their world, up to much larger, more established businesses that need either that tax compliance assistance or it can be from what we call an outsourced CFO service level. So the services that we provide are certainly the ATO tax compliance, tax returns, financial statements for private Australian entities. And then a big chunk of what we do and what's quite close to my heart is what we call outsourced CFOs. So outsourced CFO means it could be bookkeeping, it could be payroll, it could either be actually in the business running the financial side of the business for people, for smaller entities, or for those bigger entities, it might just be that we oversee the people that are already in those roles and manage that team. We provide advice and strategic level information to the board and management team. So it's really quite flexible in that space.
Thank you. And I'm looking forward to hearing about your journey in a moment. But firstly, what do you like doing when you're not busy doing all the lovely accounting services for your clients?
Well, I'm a big traveller, which I guess got me here in the first place, as you introduced. So I do love to get away, whether that's, look, Australia is a massive country, so there's still so many parts of it that I haven't seen. So whether it's locally or, I like to travel overseas. So whenever I can get away, I try to do that as much as I can.
Nice. That's wonderful. Well, I'm really keen to hear about the journey. So Could you let us know what's been the journey that you've taken that's brought you to where you are today?
Yeah, look, it certainly hasn't been linear. And I think in everything that's happened, look, I'm very much now in a place where I'm like, everything happens for a reason. Certainly everything that has come across my path, everything that I've been through has gotten me to here. And I know now this is where I'm meant to be. But in saying that, look, I started accounting 15 years ago. I moved from Tasmania to Sydney. I actually moved to Wollongong, which is south of Sydney, with the same firm at the time. However, that was a bit of a baptism of fire, and I went into a role that I think was not quite the right size for me at the time. Going from Tasmania and a very unique set of clients and here, very agricultural, that sort of thing. Then going into a more city-based firm with things that we didn't really tackle down here. So I actually only had 6 months in that position, and then I actually went into accounting recruitment. So weirdly enough, I took a break and went into recruitment, which it turned out pretty quickly. I am not, when it comes to cold calling and trying to sell something to someone that really doesn't want, your service. I'm not the best candidate. So I really struggled for 2 years. I was there for probably a year longer than I should have been, but I struggled for 2 years to basically try and sell accountants to Sydney accounting directors, and I got sworn at every day. I got hung up on. It was brutal. It was really brutal. But in saying that, I learned a lot of skills in those 2 years that I wouldn't have got had I have stayed in a traditional accounting firm. I got that sales experience. I got that talking to people. I got even just making small talk. It was 2 years that I just would not have gained that experience anywhere else other than in cold calling and trying to recruit accountants. So absolutely don't regret it, and it certainly has gotten me to where I am. And I think from a business perspective, being able to literally talk to anyone is a strength that you just really have to be able to network and to sell yourself. So looking back now, I very much appreciate that. I then moved on to a mid-tier firm, and my recruiting company recruited me into an accounting firm, and I spent a good 5 years there. I think what I started to come across though was that being a woman, being a strong woman in my industry, it was challenging. It was always challenging, and I really took it upon myself that I was kind of the problem. I was kind of the anomaly in the industry that I worked in, and whether it be, if I constantly was sort of rubbing guys up the wrong way. I was always the one that sort of would just annoy my fellow male colleagues. And it hasn't really stopped. I must admit, it still happens from time to time. And it's quite fascinating. But I spent 5 years there. Look, it was a very big firm, so trying to make a difference, trying to make change, and trying to be, even though I was really trying to be the change that I wanted to see. I'd formed an actual internal women's committee on sort of, embracing and championing women within the organisation, as well as pretty much every other social committee you could possibly imagine. But it's very hard to make change in big organisations. And so after 5 years, I left there. I went to a smaller firm, and it was, look, sort of very chalk and cheese. The two firms are very, very different, and really went about accounting and what they provided to clients in very different ways, both of which I have certainly learnt from. So I really appreciate the two very different approaches and what I learnt from both of them. But again, I just and it was, I sort of when I first started the smaller firm, I felt less like a square peg in a round hole. I did feel like I fit in a little better, and I was I was somewhere that sort of championed also what I believed to be, or what I felt to be the right sort of move forward. But again, it just, again, it was sort of, you would have ideas and you would try to make improvements, or you would see things that you thought could be done better, from whether it be from an employee perspective, a policy perspective. I've been, throughout my career, I've been working in firms where there's no parental leave policy. There's nothing for men or women. There's just no policy. It's taken upon yourself that you just do it on your own. And I had a director say to me at one point in time, well, just, it's not a lot of money, just sell some investments and pay for it yourself. And this is coming from a director of a firm that was turning over $20 million. So it was, it's always been a challenge as a woman in my industry. And look, it's, and that's not necessarily something that's going to change overnight, but certainly now that I'm here in this position where I've started my own firm, I just absolutely want to do things differently. I want to be able to provide for my future employees a place where there's, that loyalty and trust is kind of, it's a base minimum. And because of those things, because you do feel those things, you don't have to be, your employees don't have to be always reaching out and trying to prove that they're worthy of trust and loyalty and that sort of thing. So, I've got a lot of things on, a lot of things I want to achieve, a lot of things I've sort of pinpointed as things I want to do, whether that's around, obviously parental leave policies 100%, whether that's around providing unlimited leave, which is actually something I'm seriously considering at the moment, and just essentially creating a place which is completely different to everyone around me and what's been seen in my industry. But for as long as I've been, working in finance and accounting, I'm really excited to provide something that's just completely different.
That's so exciting. And the listeners to this podcast will be like smiling along, going, now we understand why Aveline got Sarah on the podcast. Yes.
And then I even forgot to talk about obviously my exit into
please tell us about that.
Business. But so that, and that was, it was something that I had been with the firm for 4.5 years. I was notorious. I always took holidays. Everyone knew me as, quite the avid traveller, and I have been since I was, 19 years old. And, it would always be, I would do it over Christmas because you get 2 weeks off. We'd have a lockdown, and everyone would be like, oh, where are you going? And, whether it was, colleagues or clients alike, everyone always loves to share stories. They love to hear about where you're going and what you're going to experience. And, oh, please tell us when you get back. And it just happened to be that when you sort of unstitch everything, I would normally stick around Sydney. My birthday is the 23rd of June, so it's the second last week of the financial year here in Australia. The financial year here ends on the 30th of June. And I would normally stick around. I'd be with family, or I'd be with my partner at the time, or something like that, celebrating my birthday. But it just happened to be in the January of 2022, my partner broke up with me. So I was recently single, and my sister actually wasn't in the country. My sister was overseas. And so there was nothing pinning me or keeping me in Sydney to celebrate my birthday that year. So a girlfriend of mine, a new girlfriend that I'd met, we went, well, I want to go away. I want to celebrate my birthday this year, fresh start. Let's do something. So booked a 1-week holiday to Vietnam. So it was for one whole week, and I had plenty of, I had 4 weeks leave up my sleeve. And it came to within sort of 3-4 weeks of me going, and I had one meeting that whole entire week, and it was a regular meeting, monthly meeting, and it was actually on my birthday, it was a Thursday, the 23rd. And I actually said to my director at the time, I said, look, I can't make that particular meeting because I'm not going to be here. And look, that's happened on occasion. I haven't been able to make meetings for whatever reason. And he's like, oh, okay, why is that? Why, where are you going to be? I'm like, well, actually, that's my birthday that day. I'm going to celebrate it. I'm not going to be here. And he's like, oh, where are you going to be? I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to, Vietnam for a week. And he's like, well, it's bad timing. It's the second last week of the financial year. And he's like, I can't approve this. I don't approve this. So there was then this whole conversation around, it's already booked and all that sort of thing. And obviously I was a little blindsided in that I just didn't think it would be a problem. And yeah, we had a few conversations around it. I basically left. I got on the flight and I got a warning letter saying, this leave is unpaid and, we don't approve and blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't until I came back and I was back for 2 days and got pulled into a disciplinary meeting and got let go. So that's how Bond Financial came to be. So at the end of the day, it was a blessing in disguise. I've loved the last 18 months of having my business. I'm loving who I'm working with and who my clients are. And now that I'm here, I can really see my purpose, and I'm really grateful that everything that happened before this happened exactly how it did.
That's wonderful. It's so easy to focus on, the negative aspect of those kind of events, right? And the human aspect can sometimes take over. We like to apportion blame or, judgment or, say why this or why that. But in the end, like you've said, it actually doesn't matter because it brought you to where you needed to be. And that's the most important thing. And,
yep.
As you speak with such passion and determination, and that just oozes out of you, which is awesome. It's just so exciting. I recall when we first met, Sarah, when you were talking to me and I said to you, so do you have a vision for your business? And I'd like to ask you that question again, because to me, you are so purposeful, and I'd love to tap into where you see Bond Financial, given what you've been through, what you've said already about shaking things up. What are your plans for Bond Financial?
Yeah, and it's interesting because that's a big question, and I get it a lot. A lot of people ask me that question, and it actually goes one of two ways. And what I found is when I talk about my travel, I'm actually doing quite a bit of travel next year for, lots of different reasons. But once I've said that a couple of times, and people are like, oh, okay, so like this is just kind of a hobby for you, right? Like you're running this just to sort of, just make a bit of money, but you want to basically travel and just kind of, this is just a bit of fun. And that kind of really gets under my skin. And there's been a certain demographic that have said that. I must admit, that's come every time I've had that sort of response, generally been a man. But and then there's other people that are like, well, because I've said I want to take this all the way. I want to have a $20 million firm with 100 people. I really want to take my firm to everyone. There's obviously the client side of it. I want to service as many clients as I can and help as many people, but I also want to again provide that place for employees and for people that I work with in the future that want to be there. Create this culture and create this firm that people want to rock up to every day and give their all. So it's kind of multifaceted in that way. But a lot of people also go, oh, but why would you want to be that big? Why not keep it small? Like, why do you want to grow it so much? So it's interesting. It's sort of, there's always two sides to everything. But certainly I'm a very ambitious person. I've always sort of, I've never really done anything just to do it for the sake of doing it. I've always pushed myself to the ends of, where I wanted to be. And that's exactly where I see Bond Financial going. So like I said, I want to be able to help my clients, and I want to be able to help the people that I'm working with, and just giving them an environment that they again, that is different to what's out there currently. I very much keep my finger on the pulse of, where old colleagues of mine are working, what people are doing, what are these different firms like, and comparing them in with what I've been a part of and what I know what else is out there. So it's very interesting because, accounting firms can be so wildly different. And, and that's why I love that quote, because yes, as accountants, we generally all do the same thing. We have almost identical service offerings, but it's how you do it, and also why you do it, and why the people that are working with you do it. That's what brings the magic to that the customer service, to the actual customer experience. And actually, I've always been quite fascinated with Richard Branson, and he's always been very passionate around employees and culture. But and he's always sort of said, if your employees are happy, if you champion your employees, everything else kind of falls into place, because they're happy, they service the clients well, so the clients are happy. The clients are not spending more money. It's like it's this whole chain reaction, and it really starts with your people. And as an accounting firm, it's all about people. Yes, we have systems, yes, we have software, but we can't do it without our people, and using their skills and knowledge to then help our clients.
You're right. Everything is about people. And I think when you come at life and business through that lens, then it comes back to purpose, and because you realize that they're humans, they're people that you are impacting, whether you're an employee, whether you're an employer, whether you're, what side of the fence that you're sitting on, but you have the ability to impact everybody. We're all in the people business. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I was listening to a YouTube clip today by someone that I respect and have followed for a number of years, and he's in the financial area. And he made a comment towards the end, because he was doing this, YouTube live, and he said, what's so wrong with just making a profit? Where are the good old days where we could just go back to like running a business and just going, let's just run this and make it as profitable as we can just for the sake of making money. What's wrong with that? That's where the fun is, he said. And it was a really interesting moment for me. And I hit pause, and I had to go off and do something for one of my clients, which was 100% reverse of what he just said. And I'm dealing with this client that's international, and they're completely purposeful, and they want to impact the world in business and help shift that paradigm where it's not about profit first. And it's like, wow, you couldn't get more opposite. And yet this is the world we're in, where we've got people that just want to make money, and their purpose might just be to grow their bank account. And maybe there might come a time, I believe, that they'll see beyond the money, as in they'll see that what they're doing impacts people. And that requires a degree of connection, from empathy, from inside themselves, that connection to
self-reflection.
Yeah. And maybe this person just hasn't got there yet, and so therefore his agenda is just to be as financially prosperous as possible. And that's his purpose, to set himself up. So he's very self-motivated or self-focused. And yeah, so the money thing is really interesting, because you're in accounting, so it's all about the money. And how many clients do you have that you speak to are purposeful or talking that way? Do you have many? Are they attracted to you because you're different?
It is interesting how you do attract what you put out. And I must admit, I'm working with the most amazing clients, and I've found that, the way that I've connected with them, they're the sort of people I want to work with, because they're similar to me. They're really lovely. I've actually got a little bit of a tradie niche, so tradesmen, electricians, that sort of thing. And maybe that's the Tasmanian me that's attracted those clients. But they're wonderful. They're really easygoing, and they're great to work with. Look, I wouldn't say I have any client that their sole purpose is just that dollar. But in saying that, I think it's hard because I think we've got to a point where sometimes profit and making money seems to be a dirty word, or like a sort of, it shouldn't be something to strive for. But look, at the end of the day, I think it depends on how you go about it. Making money, we can't exist without it. Money, look, I come from Sydney. It's honestly one of the most expensive places in the world. And you do need money just to be healthy, have a home, to eat and to sustain life. So I think it's more, success is probably how I like to term it, in that we need to be successful to survive. My business needs to be successful for me to help as many clients as I can, and to also obviously employ and pay staff. So for me, success also for me comes sort of hand in hand with financial freedom. So it's the ability to then make decisions, not based on money, but based on what is best for you, for your family, for your business. Because when you're forced into making decisions off the back of not enough money, then that creates its own problems in itself. So, I think it's, making money is essentially what everyone needs to do. I think it's just how you go about it, and whether that, you're that narrow and that's your only focus. You don't care how you get, then you don't care who you hurt to get, in the way. But it's more about that. Again, it's about the journey. So yeah, the end goal, we're all looking to make money, but it's how you get there and how you do that, I think, is the important part.
Exactly. How do you do things differently to other accountants? I mean, you, in a nutshell, just tell us what makes you different.
Why would I use you over anyone else? Classic question. No, look, and I've had this conversation a lot recently. Obviously, all of my clients that are coming on board are new, and they've got their own stories and why they're looking for a new account and why they're moving on. But I don't profess to be the best accountant out there. I don't profess to know it all. There's certain parts of tax legislation that, puts me to sleep. And there's certain things that I just don't like. So I don't profess, and that's where you pull in other experts, people that I used to work with who I know are tax experts, and people that I know are better than me at those things to provide those services. But it's just about, honestly, it comes back to the customer service and the customer experience, and it's being attentive. Getting back to people when you say you'll get back to them. A lot of my clients will say, I'm looking for a new accountant because I've called mine 3 days in a row and no one has come back to me, either by email, by phone call. I'm 3 or 4 years behind on my tax returns because, again, I've sent my information, I haven't heard anything. So it's really just being responsive. But there's been a big pattern of clients saying, well, they don't hate who they're working with, they don't hate their advisors or an accountant, but they feel like they're just checking off a checklist. They're going through the motions, they're doing what they're supposed to do as an accountant, but they say, I can feel that they don't care about me and they don't care about my business. So, I've always thought myself to be quite empathetic. And, I do love what I do and I love my clients. So for me, just honestly being responsive and being proactive, and that I get back to them, I'm available, and just being in the trench with them is the only thing that I really do differently. Obviously, what I do, as far as the actual services go, are identical to anyone around me and in my industry, but it's me and how I do it and my personal brand that is what's different to everyone around me.
Yes, for sure. I can see that. You're definitely bringing a more conscious and human element into accounting. That's what I can see just from talking to you. Yeah.
Well, it's been a journey. There's part of that story involves hypnotherapist, so we can, chat about that later. But self-reflection has been a big, even just a big part of my journey in the last 18 months. So it's
That's really interesting here. We in Six Star, we always, when we talk about the journey, to figure out the purpose or the path, to be on path, it always starts with the self. And the work that I do with clients, it always starts with self. Self-awareness is key. And if someone's not ready to go there, then they're not ready to find the alignment of their path. And we all go through different steps, and challenges and little bumps along that path, and in the self-awareness piece. But it's so rewarding. And it's just, to me, it's just part of the human experience. It's what we need to do as humans because of the layers of crap that society and our world has thrown upon us as we've grown up through the system and through the school system, through all the different systems we have. And, we've got to figure out, actually peel all that back and go, who am I really? What was the kernel? What was the seed that I was born with? Where is that seed and buried deep within me?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, so much of your formative years when you're, forming opinions about who you are and your place in the world, you don't know any of this. And it's such a shame because you really struggle through those teenage years, or even, for me, it started at the end of primary school and I had quite a hard time then through the rest of my schooling. But if I'd just known what I know now, it would have, although it wouldn't have stopped what was happening around me, I would have taken everything very differently, and I would have seen it in a completely different light. So,
yeah, for sure. Tell me, Sarah, now that you're on path and you're building this amazing business to shake things up and create some waves and change, what do you see that your superpower is, or your genius?
So it's me. It's who I am and it's my personality. Which honestly 2 years ago I would have said it, when I worked in practice for all those years, I thought who I was, my personality, my personal brand was the problem. I thought that was actually something to hide and to keep kind of suppressed, and just, yes, okay, sure, yeah, I'll do, to actually just agree with everyone else and, just go through the motions. But it's been a huge 180 sort of shift for me in the last, 12 months, in that I've really stepped into, well, actually, no, people want to work with me because of who I am, because of my personality. And I've even had, comments from people that I've known for years, but now suddenly I'm doing, I have my own business. They're like, oh, you're perfect as a business owner. You've just got the best personality. You're exactly in the right place. And I'm like, wow, I wish you'd told me this ages ago. And it's been really surprising that, yeah, it is. It's just me. Like I am and it's just taken me so long to realize that that I possess everything that I need to run this business, but also to connect and to build trusting and deep relationships with people, which again, throughout my life, I've kind of always been told or felt the opposite. So it's really been a full circle moment to realize that, yeah, actually who I am is my superpower.
That's beautiful. How exciting to be in that place with that new awareness and that new strength and power. That's beautiful. It is. It really is. Tell me, I always ask all my guests this. What does being Six Star mean to you?
I think look, when you think of, when you first say that, you think of 5-star hotels and you think, it's meant to be the best of the best. It's obviously something so extraordinary that it's better than 5. But for me, look, I don't believe in perfection. I don't believe that there's anyone out there in any given field that knows it all or is the best of whatever they're doing, because we're constantly learning. Our whole entire lifespan, we learn something new all the time, and that goes for your profession, yourself, your personal life, whatever it is. But for me, I think to add more to that leadership aspect, is that self-reflection, is to know yourself, and then to bring that into your role as a leader. Because so often, and it's really only been this last 12 months, when someone's in a place of pain and they're lashing out, I used to take that really personally. I was like, there's something wrong with me. I thought it was me. So when I've been lashed out at before, or when something's happened, I'm like, oh, what did I do? That must have been on me. But since I've sort of worked through this self-reflection piece, I've had a hypnotherapist for the last 18 months, and now when I see those things, I end up being, I'm concerned. I'm like, okay, what's going on for this person? Why are they hurting? Why are they? And it's made me a much better leader. It's made me a much better, I listen more effectively. I'm much more in tune with other people and what their needs are. Even if they don't know what it is that they need, or they don't know what the problem is, I think there's a lot that I don't know why that's come up for me. I have certain memories from childhood and whatever, but there's lots of things I have forgotten, and the body stores everything. So I think there's a lot of people out there that don't realize, what they're holding in their own body, and what they're sort of going through, subconsciously. That a lot of the time when you work in a corporate environment, no one really cares. If you're having a hard day, we went through COVID. COVID was horrendous, and I think a lot of people struggled through that with very little support or assistance from their workplaces, from people that, look, at the end of the day, when you go to work, you spend more time with your colleagues than you do with anyone else in your family, even your significant others sometimes. So I think we have a huge part to play, and as a leader, you have to be in tune into the people that you're working with, into how people are dealing and struggling, and just, you can't fix problems, but you can certainly be there. You can listen. You can at least let them know that you're there, and that there's other options to them. So yeah, that self-reflection and really knowing yourself better is the key to leading other people better, and leading other people in the right direction, or giving them the support and guidance they need, because you can read the situation better than making some. I think we all make assumptions. Without good self-reflection, you make assumptions. That's sort of the base that everyone goes to, and assumptions are super dangerous. Like, I've done it myself. You normally assume the worst. So, and that's, I think, coming back right around to the first part of our chat was about that trust and loyalty. And look, in our industry, I think it's leaders quite often don't trust their staff. They trust, they think they're doing, they're, during COVID they weren't working, their productivity was all over the place because they'd be doing laundry or watching Netflix. That it's just this, unfortunately, this, you automatically go to the worst assumption, and it can be really damaging, and those things can be hard to counteract. So as a leader, self-reflection, having that empathy, and just not making assumptions based off nothing.
So that's so powerful, Sarah, your answer there, because it just shows the space you're in, but also your awareness of this journey that we're on. It's always evolving. And as a leader, we're all leaders in different ways, whether we like it or not. As business owners, we are leaders. We're leading staff. We're leading, contractors, clients. Like, there's all these people that look at us and watch what we're doing. And it is an evolving journey. And you're right, assumptions are so dangerous. For anyone who hasn't read the book, The Four Agreements, that's one of the four agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And it was a book I read about 20 years ago. And one of them, it's such a powerful thing, right? To realize that making assumptions and having expectations are just very limiting. They stop us from learning, they stop us from growing, they stop us from making an impact. So yeah, love that so much, so much. Our time together has just flown. I so love this. Who would have thought, right? And for the listeners that heard that I was talking to an accountant, I hope you realize how powerful and special this conversation is with Sarah. And so I would want to know, how can people get in touch with you, Sarah?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So look, you can grab me through the website, through our inquiry form at bondfinancial.com.au, or through Instagram. Bond Financial Sydney is our Instagram handle, or I'm on LinkedIn, so you can find me, Sarah Pyke, through LinkedIn.
And I guarantee that you will not have someone else or a bot respond. It'll be Sarah. And I bet you're always open to chatting and meeting new people, right?
Yeah, no, I've been doing a lot of networking in the last 12 months, but I must admit it's wonderful meeting new people. And obviously, Evelyn, I met you through through a mutual contact. So you just meet the most wonderful people. And I must admit, since becoming a business owner, I have met other business owners that have now become, firm of friends, or I would almost call family.
Wow.
In such a short amount of time. It's been amazing.
That's beautiful. As we come to a close, I'd love to ask you one last thing, and that is, have you got a piece of advice or a little tidbit that you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Actually, it's one thing that's always stayed with me, and I was told this, and I learned this. I learned this when I was in my recruiting, my 2 years of recruiting experience, was a handshake. So the first thing that, obviously, when you meet someone, there's the initial the visual connection and people making up their opinions based on that. But honestly, if you have a really good handshake, and one thing I will also premise is, even if you're shaking hands with the opposite sex, so whether you're a man, you're shaking the hands of a female, you're a female shaking the other hands of a female, don't shy away from a good handshake. There's so many times I have been on the receiving end of a handshake, which is me pretty much lifting up the other person's arm. And it just, that for me is the biggest impression that you can leave on someone. So just a nice, firm handshake.
I've never heard that before, Sarah.
Now you'll remember it.
I will. I really will.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for you, and I love the mission that you're on. I'm so excited for you, and I'm looking forward to keeping in contact, seeing how the journey goes over time, and watching that purposeful change unfold. So
awesome. Thank you, Evelyn. Thanks for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It has. You have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thanks. I hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as I did in hosting it. So please rate, review, and leave us a comment below. And finally, also, I'd love you to share it with a friend, someone who you think would get something positive from it, someone who would enjoy it. We're here for each other, so please share the love. If you'd like to reach out and talk to me and learn about how you can make a bigger difference in the world by serving the ideal clients that you have with purpose, please get in contact over at journeypoint.com.au. See you on the next episode of 6 Star Leaders Podcast.